Sunset Beach, Hawaii, Bob Shepard. Bob was one of the regulars at Sunset Beach with the rest of us, always charging, maniacs for the surf, always charging Sunset Beach. Jack Webb kicks out. Jack had come from Japan where he'd been studying karate. Now he was seeing how tough he was with waves at Sunset Beach. Mike Haley, brother to Captain Jack Haley. He'd come over to try his hand on the North Shore. Sunset Beach was a testing the ground with the rest of the spots on the North Shore. If you could ride Sunset, you did well. Mike Doyle, with a white bandage on his knee from an earlier encounter with the reef the day before, cuts back into this wave and then spins out and has one of the worst wipeouts of his career up to that time as he goes over the falls. Joey Cabell, one of the masters. Mike Haley just seemed to grow with the waves when he started surfing on the North Shore. The bigger it got, the more he charged. He came of age at Sunset Beach. Mike Haley. Ricky Gregg saw an outside set and started paddling over waves so he could be in position to catch one. Hangs high, drops in. Sunset Beach, when it breaks over on the point, is a small, fun, lighthearted wave. But as the wave gets bigger and moves out into the bay, it becomes a big beach break, with the water sucking out, and then it hits the reef, and you got a big, thick wave that can cause some trouble when you have a wipeout. In this case, Ricky had lost his trunks. It's always tough when you get caught in the rip. It's a hard swim to get back in. Some guys just put their head down and drive for it. It's a lot easier if you can catch a wave and body surf in. Of course, the resulting wipeout can sometimes change your mind, clear your sinuses. You gotta be tough. The wind is a big factor at sunset, creating big bumps on the face of the wave. Other surfers are considerations too, but if you hold onto your board, you can really get a good wipeout. Sunset Beach and North Shore, Hawaii. We jump across the pond with Peter Cole and take a drive up the coast, leaving Southern California and traveling up Highway 101. We're going to a spot called Santa Cruz. Jack O'Neill called us and said Pleasure Point was breaking, home of cold water, kelp, and fun waves. Jack O'Neill, father of the modern wetsuit. Ted Pearson, of the Pearson Aero family. Bob Pearson now making the boards. In those days, he and Jack were blowing foam, making colored foam, trying to. Jim Foley, one of the first guys I seen on a very small board. He'd taken a board and cut it down into a nice 6-foot hot dog board. Jim Foley. Peter Cole, fresh off his win at the Makaha Championships, comes over to show the local guys how he handles it in Hawaii. Beautiful, clean, glassy water. Kelp keeping the waves smooth most of the day. No wetsuits. That water's very cold. Teach you to take off them from under me, buddy. Peter's tripping into a good one. Dennis Conquest, one of the early surfers in the Santa Cruz area who just kept on surfing. Didn't quite make this one. Jim Foley on a small board tries it again. Underneath, one of the first duck dives. Jack O'Neill was going to show us how they blew the foam out in his secret shop. You had to go out through a gate, across a fence, past the dog that wanted to bite your leg, and eventually you wound up in his shop. He was making some beautiful boards for that time. He was going to let us in on his secrets on how they really went about it. This is a secret thing we're doing here. You mix this little batch with that little batch. You got to time it just right. When you put it together, you got to get it in the mold in time. I think they might be just a little late. Maybe we can do it this way. Might take a little longer to shape it, but who knows. Let's try one more batch and see if they can get it down this time. It's all in the timing. I don't think they got it quite down right yet. It seems to be exploding in the whole area. Let's leave Jack and Ted to their problems and let's go take a look at another surf spot. One of the most popular of the day. Down the coast a little ways, called Rincon Beach. One of the premier surf areas on the whole surfing coast of California. When there was a swell, the people were there. And because of its setup, it could handle a lot of people. It was a beautiful long wave. This day we had some great surfers on hand to give us a little show, as it were. Lance Carson, Kemp Auburn, and Mike Doyle. Mike and Kemp and Lance had rented a house in Carpinteria this year and were going to school up in Santa Barbara, giving them lots of time to catch Rincon and the other breaks in the area. Kemp was a master stylist. He was also learning at that time to play classical guitar. Kemp Auburn, Rincon Beach, California. Mike Doyle giving us some show. Little nose work there. Kemp with his classic style, the Armanier, holding the wave fat. Doyle, one guy in front, doesn't bother him. He'll just keep on surfing behind him. The boys waiting to see who's got the best physique of all the surfers. Bob Cooper right there, along with Mike O'Neill and the rest waiting. We're going to see who's the strongest surfer in the crowd. Lance, toes on the nose, Carson.
Look at this muscular contest at Rincon Beach. This was a pretty good contest with a lot of the heavy-set guys there. And they were doing pretty good out there, but with all the boys showing their muscles, like Bob Cooper. He had a lot of muscles to show, too. Oh boy, he's a sweet fella. Mr. Stifflegs, Lance Carson. He looks like a pretty muscular surfer. They say all surfers are very muscular and very well built. Have to be. Well, there's some guys that aren't really well. Oh, but it hurts. Michael Neal. But the one we'd waited to see was the one and only Turkey.
We dropped on down the coast to a place called Haggerty's, and the perfect surf vehicle. This thing will go anywhere. You can go to Baja, you can go in the mountains, you can go surfing anywhere on the coast. It's built for tough going. We're with a couple of surf friends of ours from the Rolling Hills area. John Kemper, the one on the left, and his partner Piercy. Grab their boards and head on down the cliff to go out and show us what it's like to surf Haggerty's Beach in the Palos Verdes Peninsula, just south of Redondo Pier. John has a little bit of a different style. He likes those knees the way they are. We called him Bird Legs Kemper. John Mellington Kemper III, or Bird Legs. Piercy was just the opposite. He had the classic bow-legged style, making it look smooth and easy. But John was my favorite of the day. I just loved to watch him surf. He just squeezed everything out of the wave. A lot of body English made it all work for him. Haggerty's was a day-to-day spot, kind of protected by the wind and the kelp outside. In those days, it never seemed to get too crowded, and if it had a little bit of a wave, it was fun. For stylemeisters like Bird Legs. The beach breaks of Hermosa Beach in Manhattan were usually predicated on the sandbars building up around the piers or 22nd Street. But Haggerty seemed to always break the same. There's a nice left breaking off the old pier. And Bird Legs took full advantage of the wave. And in those days without wetsuits, because remember the water was still cold. As the sun goes down on Haggerty, we thought we'd travel on down the coast a little further and look at a place between Sunset Beach and Surfside called Water Towers. We had a crew with us this day that said we had a bit of a swell, so we thought we'd give it a try. My brother came down with us, Donovan Phillips, Timmy Dorsey, some of the local boys from Seal Beach. This wave had a good break on it, more of a beach break kind of a wave waiting for the right sandbars to form. This was the home area of Timmy Dorsey, now the captain of the lifeguards in Seal Beach. Timmy was a stylist, liked one switching stance. My brother Donovan on the nose and a wipeout. Timmy was one of the first guys I'd seen switch dancing, so I was fascinated with his style. He always seemed casual, always seemed to have it under control. Ole made Ole surfboards in those days in Seal Beach, now over in the islands making the same fine longboards. Ole Olsen. Timmy Dorsey, the master stylist, doing a little switch dance. Timmy was good in any kind of a wave he encountered. Small waves, big waves, hollow or flat. He liked the surf. And he always made it look easy. Even the wipeouts. Some just weren't too interested in any of it. But Timmy was putting on a show. Surfside, California, the water tower. Yeah, guys coming from one way, maybe just go the other way. You got one guy that way? No big deal. Do a drop knee turn. Leaving California, we thought we'd travel on down south of the border. In those days, it took a little bit of doing to get across the border, past the border guys. Once you were down into Mexico, you knew you were in for some fun. We were heading down to a place called San Miguel in Ensenada. On hand, we had Robert Augers, Timmy Dorsey, Bill Fury, Steve Daniels. A group of guys, cars, and surfers that could be a lot of fun. Tim Dorsey on the first wave. San Miguel, Mexico, Ensenada. When you lost your board here, it would go up onto the rocks. The water was cold. Steve Daniels gives it a try. Big guys surf too. Bill Fury was the maestro this day. He seemed to be all over that board. Styling. He was about 16 when these pictures were taken. Robert August. Doesn't know why that guy took off behind him. Doesn't he know? Those were his waves. Tim Dorsey. Robert August seemed to be getting this thing together here, getting more waves. Robert August, son of Blackie August, one of the premier surfers of the California coast, moved down to Baja before many other people even knew that Baja was a good surfing area. Sammy Buell. Surf wagons of the time. You needed a good surf camper when you went surfing in Baja. The boys setting up camp for the evening. Little music. The fire for the coffee. The next morning, Robert August had a plan. He was kind of tired of surfing with all those people. He thought he just might have a way to alleviate the problem. If these guys weren't out in the water, he'd get more waves. So we'll see if it works. One diehard left. Get down, you. This is my waves. Robert August, rolling out across the beautiful sandy beach of San Miguel. And catches a few of beautiful blue, clean San Miguel waves. But it didn't last long. Sammy Buell decided he had to come in and start catching waves too, so he was sneaking in behind him. And in front of him. Little nose tweak for style. Sammy Buell. It was hard to hold Sam down. He just seemed to think every wave was his. Robert manages to sneak in on a real pretty one by himself. Del Fury slips in on one. Waxing up, getting ready to go out for her own surf, Paula Ward. But as we have a little music to think about the surf by, let's take a break in the film and end the first reel.
Well, the rocker, they glue up those blanks, and so you only had 4 inches of balsa wood. So how much scoop can you get in 4 inches?
Right.
So you took as much as you could, but you didn't have much. It certainly didn't help you. I mean, like the Waimea Bay, that was, how many guys you see in your movies take off and pearl at the top? They just didn't fit into that top cavitation.
How many waves have you taken off on at Waimea Bay that you actually looked down the face and went, oh, this is going to be a mellow takeoff?
No, I think I probably pearled on half the takeoff, and I would say I'll give myself a high average. It was really because of the equipment. I don't think I would have pearled if I had a nose rocker. We just didn't have any. And we had big wide noses that were heavy. They were pointed, but there were a lot of aspect forward that made them nose heavy, and real narrow tails, which once you got them traversing, they went like hell. But they weren't going to pearl once you got going. But they were terrible on the drop.
You know who really was bringing on the rockers in that period of time? Shepard was kind of following along because he was following Georgie Downing and Wally Floyson.
Well, those guys were big later. We were back in California, you know, in the dark ages. They were experimenting.
Weren't those guys out there?
Yeah, they were making stuff and then could go out and test it. We'd go over. I mean, I asked Dewey Weber, what should I take to Hawaii? Well, you know, how he surfs, you know, real fast and tight turns. And he says, man, I kept spinning out at sunset. So he said, I'd put a 20-inch fin on, so you'll hang in so you won't fall out of the top. So I made Dave Sweet. We glued 2 blanks together, and I made basically a longboard, typical longboard, but it was about 10.6, and I put a 20-inch fin about that wide. Oh, that was dandy. I take off at the top, and you still fall out. I don't care if you got a 40-inch fin. The fin wouldn't let the board go down, and I'd hang up in the top, and then just free fall out.
We're on the Big Bird, flying over Diamond Head, Waikiki, the south shore of Oahu, canoes, where many of us learn to surf. But this isn't our destination to stay. We're on our way to another surf spot, the Alawai Harbor, Ala Moana. Garbage hole. And our boys are driving up as we head on out and get ready for some surfing at Ala Moana. The boards are loaded. And outside, the Ala Moana Yacht Harbor, Surf Wave, Ala Moana. In between, a channel was dredged back in the 50s to make this break. Paul Stroud waxes up to go out. Kimo Humminger. Kimo on this wave. The Kimo Humminger squat. Sammy Lee behind Kimo. Nick Beck later moved to Kauai and surfed Honolulu Bay. Ala Moana is a fun wave breaking on a reef with the Alawai Yacht Harbor channel coming out making a deep water kick-out area. It's a fun wave. Kimo Humminger underneath the lip. Outside on the better wave of the day behind Fred Van Dyke, Gene Harris tucks inside. We thought we'd leave Ala Moana and do a little more traveling. This time to a fun wave out in the Ihukai Beach area, Mike Majak at Pupakea. The tide was high, the wave wasn't really racking yet, but it was fun. Fred Van Dyke later bought a house right near this spot, so this was his break in the front yard. Timmy Dorsey came over to give it a try, doing just as well in Hawaii as he'd been doing in the California breaks. This day, Timmy Dorsey and Mike Haley had an opportunity to save my life when I was hit in the head with a surfboard, knocked unconscious and underwater. If it hadn't been for Timmy and Mike Haley, I wouldn't be here narrating today. Mike Majaks. Mike Doyle was there this day, showing Timmy Dorsey that he too can do a little switch stance surfing. Mike started looking the break over and saw this left that broke down the beach a little ways. Thought he'd give one of them a try. That started a little exodus. Some of the guys were going right, some of the guys were going left. Sometimes it got a little crowded. The left started looking a little better. Mike Diffendorfer decided to come out and give it a try. Mike Diffendorfer again. One of his finely shaped boards. One of the master shapers of the world today, Mike Diffendorfer. The left kept getting better as the day went on. The tide started going out. We call this left over here Dorsey's Rock Pile. It's had many names since. Playing with the backwash as a wave comes across the reef at Puka Kea. And then Mike going left as the waves started getting better that way. Dorsey's Rock Pile. Mike Majak gets a good one going left. And just kept getting deeper and deeper. Mike Doyle. The guys came in, decided to take a break and have a little bit of a snack, but the surf started building on the outside. Ricky Gregg showed up. This is going to be fun, he said. Peter Cole. They must have let school out early this day. But what can you say when there's only two guys out surfing on fun waves? Ricky Gregg and Peter Cole. And with only two guys out, Ricky still managed to get away in front of Peter and make it.
Early the next morning, we went running out to check the surf with Paul Strow and Donald Takayama. Beautiful, hot, sunny day. No wind and no surf. How unhappy could you be? The day before, they'd had some surf, and all their plans had been for big surf this day. What are you going to do now? Oh, boy. Well, as they sat there and thought about it for a while, they kept getting tireder and tireder. And the sun had its effect too, I guess. And pretty soon they just kind of laid back and took it easy and thought they'd sleep for a while and hoped it came up. But sometimes you can go to sleep like this and a lot of things can happen. And why? The surf can come up very fast. The place can even get crowded. Look, Paul, look outside. Look what you're missing. The surf was up, surfers were there, and you'd missed everything. Donald was jazzed. The first few rides weren't too real good by the guys who were out there. They're having a rough time making the surf. Fairly good wipeouts. Denny Buell and Richie Chu. Denny Buell. our two surfers in Hawaii have it made. Polly Strow and Donald are heroes in Hawaii. Wherever they go, sooner or later their little girlfriends will follow. Come running up, make sure that they don't get too cold and catch a chill. What a life. Carry their boards up for them. Nothing is too good for their heroes. No, believe it or not, in Hawaii they treat them like this. If you're a surf hero, you've got it made. Oh, to be a hero in Hawaii. Ice-cold beverages. 7-Up. Little Grammys to wax your board for you. Beat it, kid. Ah, what a life. Donald doesn't know how to act. Which girl has the Tony? Oh, if only life could go on like this forever. To be a hero in Hawaii. But all things must come to an end, and our young girlfriend kisses him and says aloha, for you see, it was only a dream. Our two surfers have been dreaming about what could happen to them if they were heroes.
Let's go take a look at a place called Haleiwa. Bob Beatty waxing up. Bob Shepard. Beatty pushes through some white water. Warren Harlow paddling out next to the jetty. John Perrin pushing through the white water to get outside Haleiwa Beach, Hawaii. Harold Iggy going left. Premier shaper for Dewey Weber in Venice, California. Came over to the North Shore to show the boys how they surfed it from California, carrying a vintage Dewey Weber surfboard. Harold Iggy. The boys. The swell's got a good angle to it. And when Haleiwa's on, it's one of the finer waves in the islands. Not too big and threatening, but just a fun, hot dog wave that you can really play with. Buzzy Trent was there that day. Didn't like the crowd. He was on his way in. Down the line, young John Peck kicks out. George Downey, styling. Harold Iggy. Watch that board. George Downey had a little collision there, and the board caught the guy inside. Hap Jacobs. Buzzy Trent was walking along the beach with his board and had a plan. Avalanche, outside Haleiwa, outside the Army Beach. Some nice big waves this day. Buzzy Trent. Warren Harlow. And the boys. For the first time that we'd seen avalanche ridden. Outside Haleiwa, avalanche. You lost your board, it was a good mile paddle in. You had to want to be out there, but what a pretty wave. We leave the Haleiwa area this evening as the sun goes down. Start thinking for another surf spot on up the coastal ways. We take Cam Highway. Go down and meet the boys. At Sunset Beach, Harry Shirch down filming. Mike O'Malley, Ray Beatty, Bill Coleman in his car getting dressed to go surfing. It's big sunset. Some big sets closing out once in a while. Time to bring out the big hardware, the guns, the elephant guns to ride big surf. Over 10 foot, this one an 11-foot board. Bill Coleman goes down to ride Sunset Beach. Joey Cabell paddles out, and it's one of those days. Good sunset, big and steep. Timmy Dorsey in front of Mike Doyle. Every once in a while a closeout set would come through, so you had to stay on your toes because it was a long swim. Timmy Dorsey with the board playing tag behind him. One of those hit you in the head and you'd know it. 30 pounds. Joey Cabell kicks out as Doyle drops in and catches a rail and goes over again. Bad wipeout. Jack Webb kicks out. Didn't like the setup on that one. A lot of wind this day as Joey Cabell comes across the bottom, grabs his board, but misses it. Kind of a wild day. You never know where the waves are going to break. Sometimes the west swell comes through, sometimes it moves over and closes off the channel. You have to be on your toes on a day like this because it's a difficult place to ride when it's not perfect. And Mike Doyle. Outside Whitewater. Everybody keeps looking back. Mike Doyle on the inside here. You never want to get caught inside as you ride a wave. You might kick out and there's a wall of whitewater that'd take your board away. Jack Webb. The waves seem to be picking up a little bit, getting a little wilder. Nobody wants to get caught in an outside set. Timmy Dorsey drops in behind Mike Doyle. Get a nice section on the inside set. Doyle just barely hanging on there. Timmy trades places with him. Doyle behind Dorsey. When it's big like this, it starts off as a pretty wave and looks like it's going to break, and then sometimes it just becomes a big mountain wall of water. Joey Cabell staying in front of that surfboard. Nice inside section. And outside, a wave breaking across the horizon. Dorsey drops in. Waves seem to be picking up. More and more, closing out big boils in the water. He looks outside every time. There's a closeout set. This will bring a few guys in. Everybody stops and starts looking out. First off was Kimo Hollinger, drops in, didn't have a chance. And then Ricky Gregg gets nailed. Some of us didn't surf that day. Some just sat on the beach and told stories. We're at the end of this film. Thank you for joining us. As the sun goes down over Cayena Point, we bid you aloha.